I'm on the road again. I just can't wait to get on the road again. When I want to get on the road again. I want to see Willie Nelson before he croaks. All right, YouTubers, welcome back. My name's Dave, like always, and you found Do It Yourself, Do It Right. And this is now part 2 of getting my CB360 road ready. In the previous video, I diagnosed some wiring problems, cut wires, spliced wires. I believe one of my coils was going bad, breaking down when it got hot. So in this video, we're going to go through and do the rest of the servicing. We're going to do some cam chain adjusting. I'm going to show you how to do that. Going to do some valve gapping, intake and exhaust. And then we're going to do some more timing on it. I'm actually going to dive in and do the gaps in the points and make sure that the whole timing thing is still correct. So we got a busy video. Let's get to it. Let's jump right into this cam chain adjustment. Like I said in the previous video, there's an order of operations, and you should always do, whenever you're in here messing around with timing and valves and cam change, the order of operation goes cam chain adjustment, valve adjustment, points adjustment. And the reason for that is if you mess around with any which one of them, you could throw the other ones out. So the first thing you should do is cam chain adjustment. It's pretty easy. The most difficult part about cam chain adjustment is getting the engine in the correct position. Now I have the old school manual, so I read it right out of the manual. Basically what it says is it's got to be 90 degrees from top dead center of the number 1. So let's make this a little easier. So the number 1 is the left side. When you come up to compression down here, you're going to come up to your left side fire, and then the LT is top dead center. What that's basically saying is it has to be 90 degrees from top dead center. Now, the reason for that is that means that both of the pistons in the engine are in the middle, and the reason why you want it in the middle is because it relieves all the stress from the valves, from your cam chain, so you can get in here and loosen up your cam chain. But it has to be specifically 90 degrees from top dead center. So basically what somebody has already done for me, and I thank them, they've put a mark on the stator here. So here's your LT mark. 90 degrees from the LT mark is this little mark right here. See that little dot? Just got to move the stator just a hair for it to line up. And the reason why is, well, because I just said you want to have these valves, all 4 of them, in the closed position, so there's no stress on the springs. Now I'm going to make mention to get those valve covers off. You need I believe it's a 17 millimeter. Pop them off. These hadn't been off in a while. They were pretty tough to get off. I had to use my my big wrench. So I got the engine set to where it's supposed to be. Now what you do is simply, and I do mean simply, you come over to these bolts here. See that guy? You loosen up the jam nut, and then you loosen up the bolt. And I do mean loosen. You just loosen it, and it automatically resets itself. And that's it. That's all you got to do. So now that I got the engine set, and now you know how to set your engine, let's make the adjustment. All right, to do this, you're going to need a 10 and a 12. The 12 is the actual jam nut, and the 10 is to loosen the bolt. So I just loosened the jam nut. I'm gonna run this bolt out. Now some people say they hear a click when this resets, when it's resets itself. I've never heard a click, never heard anything really. It's out, it's loose, going back in, and it's tight there. And then you just reset your jam nut. That's all there is to it. And voila, cam chain tensioner has been adjusted. Moving on to valve adjustments. So you're gonna need some tools. You're gonna need, for one, you're gonna need a feeler gauge to get down in there to measure the gap between the tappet and the valve itself. You're also going to need a handy dandy 10 millimeter offset box wrench. Now I bought this this wrench set, Duratech. You can see the part number right there, Amazon.com. I bought that set just for this wrench. Now I had scoured pawn shops. I couldn't find one. I just needed this one, but I bought the whole wrench set, and it works good for at work too with the bigger sizes. But you're specifically looking for a 10 millimeter, so you can get down on here. So I can show you real quick. So you can get down on that guy, offset, and you're gonna need a flat tip to adjust your tappet. So this wrench makes it super easy. Now I have gotten in there with a wrench like that, but this makes it so much easier. You can put that guy on there, use two hands, adjust your tappet, keep your feeler gauges in there. It just makes life a whole lot easier. So what do you got to do to get it to this point? Well, you got to find top dead center of whatever cylinder that you're working on. And so I'm at top dead center for the left side. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust the intake and exhaust. You do them both at the same time. Now, per the old manual over here, the gap, they're pretty close tolerance. So let me say intake should be 0.2 or 0.002 inches, or if you're in the world of millimeters, 0.05 millimeters. That's on the intake, and the exhaust should be 0.003 inches, and millimeters, that is 0.08 millimeters. So really close tolerances. I don't think I really have to. If you're in here doing these adjustments, if you're brave enough to do these adjustments, you know the importance of proper gaps. Too big of a gap, you're going to have a lot of tick-tacking noises in there, and too small of a gap, well, you could go ahead and hurt your valves. So the important, that's the importance of getting these right. And your engine will run better if it's set properly. So let's go ahead and make these adjustments. So there is no way that I can hold a camera, run a wrench and a screwdriver and my feeler gauge all at the same time. Now, as you can see, my feeler gauge, it's been used a few times. This is 2000s. I got 3000s, so I got a 4000s out. So you can see my 2000s. She's bent up. She's been worked a few times. Now the easiest thing is just move the cable out of the way. I usually check it first. That's if you get in here with your fingers and you can shake it to see, the more times you do this, and of course I do a lot of this precision measuring at work, you might be able to be like, oh yeah, that's pretty close. Now 2000s is super close tolerance, but that 2000s goes in there way. Let's get her down in there. What do we got? What do we got here? It'll go in. Oh, it goes in. It's not that far off though. That's really really close to my liking, actually. I think I'm going to leave that one. So, look at that. It's already set. I'm leaving that one. I like it. It's snug. I got to use my screwdriver to push it in. So, I'm going to leave that one the way it is. Now let's move up here to the front. And basically the same thing. I'm going to shake it. Now this one feels like it's smaller than the front one, so this one might actually need some adjustment. So again, I'm gonna get my this is it's close quarters. All right, so my 2 goes in. Well, that was my 3 that went in. I should have my headlamp on so I can see better. Alright, so 3 goes in. It's pretty taut. It's not really loose. Let's see if my 4 will go in. Let's stick that down in there. I used a flat tip to move it around so I can get it lined up where I want it. Yeah, my 4, somebody did a pretty good job. Yeah, 4 is really tight getting in there. Somebody did a pretty good job doing this last time. Yeah, 4 won't go in, 3 goes in. So I'm gonna call this side good. And it's basically the same thing for the other side. You just go up to a compression stroke. I take my finger, put it over on the other side. Okay, it's already on a compression stroke. Go up to top dead center. Line up your T mark. There we go. Should be top dead center. And let's feel these valves. Just make sure they're all the way up. Yep, that one's up. Ooh, this one feels really tight. The intake feels, she's really tight, really tight. Let's move on to the other side. All right, 2000s. Let's see if I can jam it in there. And of course, I'm gonna drop the wrench that I'm gonna need to adjust it. Got it all the way down. Yeah, she's not going in. She's really tight. Yeah, I'm gonna have to adjust that. That one's really tight. That's what she said, right? She's really tight. You know, sometimes you have that problem. Sometimes it just doesn't want to slide. Well, and now it slid in there. Yeah, no, it's taut. It's too taut for my liking. I'm going to loosen her up just a hair. It's not often that I have to actually loosen them. Usually they're too much of a gap. So there we go. We'll loosen that up. Well, make sure my 2000s is jammed down in there. Make sure she's where I want it to be. Alright, it's in there. You know, make sure she's pinched in there, which it is. And then I'm going to back it off just a hair. Tighten it up. My 2000s feeler gauge came right out. Let's see if we can get it back in. Now don't, you know, if you do this and this is your first time doing it, don't be scared to go back in and loosen it up, tighten it, loosen, tighten, and to get that gap right. Well, she's still kind of tight. Yeah, it's still tight. I'm gonna do it again. Yeah, I'm having trouble getting my feeler gauge in there. Getting you home. What you want to get in your home? She's going in and out. I'm gonna snug it up a hair. Too much of a hair. Loosen her. Well, there we go. Now she's sliding the way I want it. Yeah, that's the spot. There we go. Now if I can, only if I can tighten it up without moving it. See how this wrench makes it so much easier? There we go. Give her a good little snuggaroo. Oh yeah, she slides nice now. Yeah, she slides the way I want it to slide. All right, let's give her the wiggle feel. Oh yeah, much better. Let's make sure my number 3. Make sure the number 3 doesn't go in. Look at that. All right, good. Yeah, she don't want to go in. Perfecto. See, sometimes it just takes a little bit of, patience. Ooh, this one feels too big. That gap feels too big. But the last one felt too big also. Well, I mean, I'm not speaking from experience, but I'm just saying, some people, size doesn't matter, so they say. Let's give the old handlebars a move. I don't keep bonking my head on it. That one's like throwing a hot dog down the hallway, boy. That one went right in there. Woo! She's gaping. All right, stuff the number 3 in there. Tighten her down a little bit till it's snug. There we go. She's tight. Okay, it's moving in and out. Okay, now let's see if I can tighten it again without moving it. Screwdriver in to hold it in place. I'm gonna give her a couple of. Oh yeah, she comes right out. Let's make sure. Trust but verify, I always say. That feels pretty good. Feels pretty good. And just like that, folks, that's how you adjust your valves. It's a little bit of a trial and error, but you do it. When you're doing it, when you're in here, do it right. There's no reason to half-ass it. You get them in there, they're tight, they're good. You don't have to worry about them. 1,500 miles later, you come back and you do the same thing. You just do the same little adjustments. I don't particularly ride my bikes that much, so I'm not doing that that often. I have other bikes to ride, so getting 1,500 miles on the old bikes, it's kind of hard. So I usually do this once a year. No, that's just the way I am. So on to the points. Adjusting the points gap is pretty easy, but if you have to adjust the points gap, well then you're gonna have to go back and adjust your timing. So the easiest way to do this is, again, you turn your stator and then you turn it to where you see your points gap open the greatest. Wherever it's open the most, that's where you measure. And your wrench falls off and whacks your other arm. I don't know if you can get in there, but this one, well, they're both open. That one looks like it's open the most. And basically all you do is you just measure that gap. And the gap should be 12 thousandths to 16 thousandths. And for you metric folks, I gotta look. It's 0.3 to 0.4 millimeters. And if it is off, then you have to loosen up these Allen head. On this bike anyways, they're Allen heads. On your bike, if it's unmolested, it's gonna be some jacked up cross-tip screws like that. But somebody has gone in here and replaced these with Allen heads. I don't know why they didn't replace these guys, but it is what it is. I don't have any extra ones, so I can't replace them myself. So you loosen these up and you have to adjust to get this gap to be 12 thousandths to 16 thousandths. But like I said, if you have to adjust it, then you're gonna have to redo your timing. So I'm gonna go ahead and knock that out. All right, here we go. We're going to adjust the left side point. And I've already loosened up the little Allens. So you gotta have a nice little flat tip in here to move this guy. And we find my 12 and my 16 again. So we know, I know, because I was spinning over, that is the most open that point is gonna get. And my 12 slides right in there. And the 16 also slides in there without moving the point. So I'm going to stick my screwdriver right in here, and I believe if you go that way, it closes the gap. I know it's so minute you're not going to be able to see it on the camera, but promise me that closed. I promise you that actually closed the gap. Maybe too much. Yep. As I bump the camera. Let's open that gap up a little bit. Now there are, you know, a bunch of different electronic ignitions that are out there on the market. I have had a Pamco on one of my bikes. The blue bike, actually, when I bought it, had a Pamco. It failed miserably. All right, so 12 goes in. I also bought one of the Shockwaves from Common Motors, and it was one of the first ones. And I had a lot of trouble with it. And the reason why I had trouble with it is because the little sensors kept loosening up, and I'd ride and it would come out of time. Oh, is that too much? Maybe. It would it'd get out of time like every third or fourth ride, and I have to go back in there and adjust it. And it turned out that there was no spacers. Mine, I guess it was one of the, I don't know, one of the first ones. All right, so 12. I just moved it a little bit again, if you just saw that. The spacers kept loosening up, and I never could get it to sit right, to stay right. I tried super glue, I tried thread locker, I tried everything to get it to stay the way it was supposed to. So in the end, I took it off, and then I sold it on eBay. Was it eBay? I don't know, maybe eBay. I sold it somewhere, and I was straight up. I told the people I couldn't keep the sensors to stay tight, and I sold it. And I have not tried an electronic ignition since. I just roll with these points. All right, so 12 goes in, 16 does not, that's where you want it to be. Now the fun part is tightening these down without actually moving them. Now, since I adjusted this one, I'm going to have to go, because this is the left side, I'm going to have to go, and I'm going to have to probably adjust the big plate. And then since I have to adjust the big plate, the right side, the number 2 side is on the plate. So whenever you adjust the plate to get the one side back in, you got to adjust the number 2. So we're going to be doing some more timing. All right, 12 goes in still. 16 does not. And I'm just going to, because this is what I always do, I'm going to verify the other side. All right, 12 goes in, 16 does not on the right-hand side. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you gap your points. Now, that's not timing. That's just gap, not timing. We're going to do timing after I go get a drink. I'm going to show you how I do static timing. It's a little differently than what the manual says. The manual says use a light with the battery power of the bike. I use my multimeter on continuity. So basically I have the wires hooked up to alligator clips, minus an alligator clip there because it broke. But I go from the points, which on this side I'm hooked up to number 1, which is yellow. So I hook my alligator clip up to the point itself, and then I follow the yellow wire up to here, and I hook on to the wrong wire. I'm hooked up to the wrong yellow wire. I got to hook up to this yellow wire. I'll fix that in a second, but basically all I'm doing is running continuity down to where this points gap is touching. I'll rotate the engine over. It'll be touching. The old multimeter over there will be screaming at me, going beep, And then I just simply rotate the engine around until I get to the LF. And when that thing stops screaming at me, that's when that point opens up, and that's when it's supposed to fire. I'm not using any battery power from the bike. I'm just using static ground, continuity, boom, beep. That thing makes a lot of noise, beep. When it stops making noise, that's when I know the bike is firing, and if it's out of time or in time. So let's do it this way. I'm now connected to the correct yellow wire, and as you can not hear, my multimeter is not beeping at me because that gap is open. So I'm just going to rotate this around. I'm going to move this a little bit because it was touching that bolt as well. You just got to make sure that this is touching the points and the points only. You don't want to be touching the bolts because it will ground out and it will start screaming at you. So I just rotate it around. Points are still open. Points are still open. They're still open. They're starting to close. And my alligator clip pops off. And let's route it up here so I'm not going to continuously hit it. All right. Points are starting to close. Now my multimeter is yelling at me. Points are closed. Now I'm watching the mark, the LF mark, come around to see when that point starts to open again. And she's off. You can see that it shut off. Well, it's on there, but it shut off here. So it's a bit out. So I'm gonna have to adjust the main plate up here. And there we go. We'll shut her off so she's not screaming. And if you caught the last video, I kind of thought stuff was off because this is not normally that far to the left, so I'm assuming I'm gonna have to bring it back. All right, let's see what it does this time. Multimeter's still on, points are open. She's coming around, coming up to compression stroke. Points are closing, points are closed. We're gonna watch for the LF mark. Move real slow. All right, it got closer, so I'm going in the right direction. Let's do it again. Points are open still. Gonna close. Closed. Oop, and went too fast that time. Closed. We're coming up over on the LF. I'm gonna readjust my wrench. Go nice and slow. Watching this tick mark and the LF mark. All right, well, we're still going in the right direction. Oh, we're not there yet. And I'm gonna say that once we made these adjustments, you gotta go back and check that gap again too. And then there's a back and forth, whether the gap, it's gotta be within, I think, 2 or 3 thousandths of each other from the left and the right. Usually you don't have a problem with that once you get them set. All right, as you can hear, they're touching. I'm gonna come up on the LF mark. We'll see how much of a difference we made. Ooh, she's close. Really close. One more swing at it. Made another adjustment. As you can see, that little teat is further over in that gap than center, but you know, we're still not lined up down here yet, so we're gonna keep going. It's just been, you know, in my experience, that little teat is usually almost dead center in there, but some bikes are, you know, a little different. These points might be a little bit worn. They might be brand new. I don't know. They don't look old, so dynamic timing is more accurate. Put your strobe light on it, which I do anyway. All right, beeping, 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 coming up on the LF mark. All right, well, she's really close. The problem is there's a little bit of in my wrench here, so it's kind of hard. Oh man, that is dead nuts perfect. Man, I don't think I could get any better than that. Boy, oh you me. All right, if that makes any sense to somebody. You probably live in Louisiana. All right, on to the other side. So basically all I have to do is change my my gator clips here, and then change to the blue up here, and this is gonna be all right, we're touching there. Now this next one's gonna fire right around, so I'm already closed. We're coming up to the F mark. For the right side, it's just F, not LF, just F. Ooh, well, she's close too. Not quite perfect, but close, which is kind of amazing, being how much I turn that big plate. All right, so I'm gonna have to adjust that one just a smidgen. And this is timing, folks. Adjust here, adjust there, adjust everywhere. All right, here we go. Nope, went the wrong way. I'll be. Now these are just little teeny tiny minute adjustments that I'm making. Here we are, come up on fire. Okay, coming around, coming around. Ooh, I went way too far. Way too far. Oh man, that's close enough for government work. It's close enough for me, folks. And this is how I statically time my bikes. That whole time that I did it, I'm not drawing any battery power, not running my battery down. I'm just running the AA batteries down in my multimeter. Same effect as the light. All you got to do is now connect your wires back up and you're done. You don't have to worry about your battery, nothing. Done. Static timing is done. Now I am going to go back and check my gaps. Basically the same thing that I did before. You just spin it around, they're open, you measure them. Just as long as they're within, I believe it's 2,000ths, you should be good. I have never had to go back and move and retime. I've never had to do it. The gap has always been right on par to where I set it before. So I'm gonna do it just to verify, but typically you don't have to go back and adjust. At least in my experience, I have not had to go back, adjust, and redo the whole timing again. Gap's good. The last thing that I like to do is I like to take a spark plug, put in each one of the spark plug wires, and just kick the bike over. Make sure you're getting nice, good spark. Make sure you hook your condenser up. Make sure you hook your points back up. Make sure you're getting a good connection in there before you start putting everything back together. So that's exactly what I do. Now, you know, make sure you don't shock yourself, but that's you know, just what I do. I figured since I'm doing the whole kit and caboodle, I might as well go ahead and sync the carburetors while I'm at it. When I had the carburetors off, I noticed that they weren't exactly set. They weren't bench synced, so I went ahead and bench synced them. I have the little screwdriver and the tool that you shove down through the hole and you adjust them. I got the vacuum kit to do it. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna put the filters on, side covers. So I put the headlight together already. I'm gonna button the bike up. Basically, To sync the carburetors, you can't have the tank on, so I'm going to take my nifty little fuel hanging thing over here, move it over here somewhere, and put some fuel in it so I can run the bike, because the bike has to be running, has to be warm. You sync the carbs, and yeah, that's pretty much a whole service once I get all that done. So if it doesn't run right after that, the only thing that I can think of that would, you know, go wrong, I didn't put new points in it because, you know, if you change too many things at one time, you don't know what fixes the problem. So if I put a coil on and I still have the problem, well, I know that it wasn't the coil, so I know that coil was good. I know the coil that was on it was good. I changed the coil, I changed the condenser. So if it fixes the problem, could be the coil, could be the condenser. Or it could be the multitude of wiring issues that I had. That could have been some of the issues. The carburetor, I mean, I don't think the carburetor was making the engine cut out after it got warm, but you never know. So I'm gonna slap her all together. Like I said, get my fuel hooked up. Let's do some carb syncing. I haven't done a carb sync video before, so this will be new for you guys. Filters are on, fuel bladder's hooked up. I forgot how much of a pain that thing is. It leaks fuel, no matter how many clamps you try to put on it. And it also, if you turn the fuel flow on full blast, it just you know, it overfills the carbs. It just so I just turn it on just barely. Plugs are in, plugs are on. I'm gonna start it, make sure she's gonna run okay, and then I'm gonna do the strobe. I'm gonna put my my timing light back on it before I do any kind of carb syncing. There's no sense of syncing any kind of carbs until I know that it's that's gonna run okay. So yeah, that's you know, that's the course of action. Let's see if she'll fire up. Oh, let me get my button. My button lives over here. I got one coming in the mail. I probably could have just stole a button off from this other bike, the horn button, not just the starter button, but I didn't. All right, we got power on. We're in neutral. Everything's working. Headlights on. We're good to go. We got fuel to the carburetors because it was just choking it out. Put my button in. Oh, all right, well, we'll see if we can get her to... I didn't choke it, so let's go ahead and choke her. I guess. Okay, all right, yeah, well. All right, so let me go ahead and give her some more, turn the throttle up. Turn the idle up, you know, because I adjusted all that. There we go. And my button falls out. I got a glove on. I'm trying not to burn my glove on my hand. That one's warm. That one's getting warm. I'm gonna let her warm up a bit, and then I'll start messing around with it. As you can hear, she's running. She's running pretty good, actually. Sounds really nice. I do have my light hooked up. I'll hook it up on the number 1 side. I want to show you the difference between static timing and strobe. I don't know if you can really see it, but she's advanced. And then the number 2 side, it's almost perfect. A little advanced, but almost perfect. I don't want that to get sucked up in there. That'd be a bad day, wouldn't it? So it's still a little advanced, So what that means is I'm gonna go in and adjust ever so slightly to get it where it's supposed to be. You know, the El Manual does tell you to use a light, and the light is more precise. So that's what I'm gonna do. Got it close. Now I'm just gonna fine tune. And if you really want to see this, I had a previous video where I did this on this bike before. So I'm not gonna show that again. Try to save some time. So it's running, sounding a lot better. She hasn't started breaking down yet. I might do that under power, I don't know, but it's raining outside, so I don't think I'm going to take her for a test drive today. But sounding better. Got the Carb Sync kit installed. If you guys haven't seen this kit yet, I believe it was on my motorcycle tool list. That's the kit that I use. I got it off from the Jungle website. Everything from A to Z. One thing you should note, that if you're working on these bikes, these adapters will need to be ground down a little bit. Just so it clears the bottom side over here, so it'll screw in there. Not a big deal, grinder, Dremel, whatever you want to use. Got them hooked up. And then this is the other tool that you're going to need. I got this tool from Common Motors, I believe. It's just basically a screwdriver inside of a wrench. And you probably will not be able to see it down in that hole. But there is a set screw and a nut that connects the two carburetors together. And that's what you're adjusting. This one has yellow on it, so I can see it a whole lot better. And you just you get the nut on there, and then you loosen or tighten or whatever you do with the screwdriver. You take the nut, you break the nut loose, and then you turn the flat tip to adjust when this thing is running. Now the bike's got to be running. And you sit there and watch these guys go. They're going to bounce all over the place. And sometimes you got to adjust how much, try to get them reading. Now you can look and see, late valve, early valve, blah, 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 all this stuff. Basically, you just want them to read pretty much the same. Now, I've not done this one yet, so it might be dead nuts on like the timing is now. Or it might be way the heck off. I'm guessing that it's a little bit off because I did bench set these. But let's get the bike running. Let's see where it's at. Bring the thunder. Oh, give me my button back. Give me my button back. All right. Oh boy. All right, let's open them up. I close them down a little bit. Because if you open them up, they just kind of go, like watch this one. It just kind of bobbles all back and forth. So that's wide open. That's closed off. Kind of a glare. Not great lighting for this. But you see how number one side is way over here, and the number two side's over here. I better turn the gas on so we don't run out of gas. There we go. We got gas flowing. See how she's way back and forth. Well, that one's right around 30, and that one's right around 15. So now I just break this loose. So I break that loose. Then you adjust the screw. See how the number two is coming closer to 30? There we go. Well, you're gonna have to turn the, that's the thing, you gotta turn your idle up. Look at that. Now we're getting close. Look at that. Oh, almost perfect. Wow, look at that. You can't get much better than that. Not too much. Let's go back. I'm gonna call it right there, boys and girls. And that's how you sync a carburetor. Now, just like timing, when you go to tighten this back up, oh, it's gonna turn it. See how it turned it? It's kind of hard to do with a camera in your hand. So I'm gonna hold the screw, turn the nut, and make sure it stays the same. I mean, talk about dead nuts on. And you can hear it run better once you do that. So if you're one of them guys who think, oh, I don't need to carb sync my carbs, yeah, you do. It makes a big difference. Listen to that. I mean, she's running like a singer sewing machine. The only thing left to do now is to wrap up the wiring on the other side. You know, the wiring that I pulled apart, that stuff up there. I'm gonna wrap that up with some, you know, good old American electrical tape and slap the tank back on. And, you know, this service, this kit and caboodle is L finished. So with that said, you know, if you like this kind of content, you know, give me a thumbs up, like, tag, share, follow, subscribe, tell your buddies about it. If they got old bikes in the garage, you know, get out there and start wrenching on them. You know, they're not gonna just fix themselves. So, you know, like I said, give me a thumbs up, like, tag, share, follow, subscribe, and till next time, thanks a lot. Wrapping wiring is the absolute worst. I should probably hire somebody to wrap this. I hate wrapping wiring. And the engine's hot, I'm gonna burn my leg.